3, 2, 1. Action. Clap for me. Awesome. All right. So who are you?
I am Cassidy Nicole Richards. I am 31 years old. I was born and raised here in Atlanta and the metro Atlanta area. Some people say Gwinnett County is not Atlanta, but it's Atlanta enough. I currently live in Roswell with my fiance and my 2 roommates. We're running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I like to read and I like to write and I like Alice in Wonderland and yeah, that's who I am.
All right. So, who were your role models or mentors during your childhood? And do you think that you emulate aspects of them with who you are today?
So, I feel like I should preface this by saying I actually have a tattoo right here that says kill your heroes. So, I don't have any present day role models, but when I was a kid, I was super into soccer. I played oh God, for like 8 or 9 years, so like a long time. And one of my soccer idols was Brianna Scurry because she's the baddest alive. And I actually got the opportunity to meet her a couple of times because they used to have this women's soccer organization called the WUSA, and they would play down at the Georgia Tech Stadium. And she was on the Atlanta team. And so I would volunteer every weekend with the hopes that I would get to meet her. And I did meet her, and it was great. And she was awesome. And then she met my soccer coach because he was there with us. And like 3 weeks later, we went to soccer practice, and she was there, and Brandy Chastain was there, and Abby Wambach was there, and they like did this special practice with us at our practice field in Briscoe Park in Selma, Georgia, and it was crazy, and it blew my mind, and it was great. So I would say that's probably the only role model I've ever like held super close to my heart. I do have kind of like life inspiration. So, I love Shel Silverstein. He's been a huge influence on my life and just like my understanding of the world. But I don't know that I would necessarily say he's been like a role model, not really trying to like, emulate his life so much as learn from his teachings. So,
All right. Oh no. We're just going to keep going. Let me switch over. Shit. Hold up. All right. Rolling camera. 3, 2, 1. Rolling sound. Clap for me. All right. All right. So who are you?
I am Cassidy Nicole Richards. I was born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, sorry. And now rolling sound. Give me a good clap. All right. Who are you?
I am Cassie Richards. I was born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia. More so in Gwinnett County. Some people don't think Gwinnett is Atlanta, but it's Atlanta enough. I like to read and I like to write. I love Alice in Wonderland and anime, and that's me.
All right. What were some of the challenges and difficulties you faced during your childhood?
Wow. That's a long list of things to choose from. So I guess we'll start by saying that my mom is a single mom, and she is a white woman. And as I'm sure you can see, I am not a white woman. So growing up kind of in, Atlanta is its own kind of bubble insofar as like race relation goes. But once you get like kind of on the outskirts, getting more towards some of the metro area, especially back in the early 2000s, people's idea of race and religion can get a little conservative, to say it in a nice way. And me and my little sister were like the only black kids in our elementary school for like at least a year, maybe 2 years. And so that was kind of a tough adjustment. We'd originally gone to schools kind of closer to Atlanta that had like higher minority populations, but when we moved a little bit further away from the city, it was very drastically white, very, very Baptist, very conservative Christian sort of families. And they did not very much like the fact that my mother was single and had black children. And so it was kind of difficult growing up under that atmosphere. I went to this daycare and, it was pretty bad. I was pretty heavily abused by my peers, both physically and verbally. And it got so bad that eventually they had to take me out of my correct age group. And I was probably like 9 or 10 at the time. And they had to move me to a classroom with like much younger students because I was being harassed all the time. And it was just really bad. And eventually my mom was able, when I went to middle school, she was able to work it out to where we didn't have to stay at aftercare as much anymore. When you go to middle school, your day starts a little bit later. So she was able to drop me off at the school in the morning, and I would just like hang out there and do study hall, which was really boring, but a lot better than being harassed by racist children all day. So yeah, that was pretty tough. But I will say that it kind of gave me a pretty adult perspective on life pretty quickly. I pretty quickly learned it's really not me, it's them. And I kind of started to disassociate with kids. But then as I, turned into a teenager, I was like, well, maybe having friends is fine, right? And so things eventually worked out, but it was rocky there as a kid and it was tough.
All right. How does a flower grow?
Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? I think the song is with fingernails and puppy dog tails and something all lined in a row. I don't know. You'll have to look it up on your own. Literally, flowers grow from seeds that are watered by either earth or by a watering can, depending on how lucky the seed is, depending on where it is in the ground. And they take all the nutrients from the water in the wet earth around them. They absorb it through their exos shell and into their inner little seed bodies and sprout and become a flower. But the question I think there is, what encourages a flower to grow, right? And, some would say nature, some would say nurture. People sing to their flowers. They think singing to their flowers helps. But, I think it's a combination of things. I think all things are connected. I think that seeds probably receive their own sort of signals from the earth that encourage growth the same way that humans do. So, who's to say how a flower actually grows?
All right. So give me a number from 1 to 100.
72.
What did you do when you hurt someone the most?
Oh. I don't know. I would say the person I've probably hurt the most in my life is probably my fiance, but I think that's probably true of a lot of people. They say that the people closest to you are the people you hurt the most often, right? And I would say probably just like, lots of fighting and just saying really nasty things to each other in moments of stress or depression, which I think is pretty normal. I'm not going to say it's great and you should do it. Don't try this at home. But I think it's pretty normal. I think a lot of people hurt their significant others or maybe the people who've been in their lives the longest, the most. And they often say that the charge of a lover is to take on all the worst parts of somebody and love them anyway. So, if we're talking about in a physical sense, the person I hurt the most was this kid in middle school who I beat up on a blacktop for trying to take my clothes off. And then he got expelled. So good for me.
All right, give me another number between 1 and 100.
We'll go with 39.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done for love?
Oh. Not leave? Which sounds a little narcissistic, but I don't know. I've never done anything like crazy for love. I don't know. Like, I get really tired of people really fast. So if I'm sticking around, that's pretty crazy. I mean, my shirt literally says sick of you. So, I'd say sticking around. You're stuck with me forever. And that's sucks for you and is crazy for you and great for me. But, we're not talking about you. We're talking about me.
All right, so this is the final question and the reason we're here. What do you think are the most important things to focus on in life in order to leave a lasting impact? And how have you done that in your own life?
So, I personally think the most important thing you can do in your life here on this earth is to leave everything you encounter better than you found it. And I don't just mean like, you see a cigarette butt on the sidewalk, pick it up, throw it away, which you should because littering is bad. But it's like you meet all kinds of people in your life in all kinds of situations. Whether or not you're in a good place or they're in a good place, you really have very little control over random encounters. And even though you can't control the types of encounters you might have in your life, you can control what you leave behind in those encounters. And, everyone is human, presumably. Jury's out on that a little bit, but presumably everyone in 2022, almost 23 is human. And we are prone to flaws. We're prone to not show the best sides of ourselves all the time. And, that's okay. So I think in some situations, leaving a situation better than you found it is like, you meet someone who's screaming at you at a checkout line and you work at Best Buy. No reason to work at Best Buy. Not like I worked there or anything, but just you work at Best Buy and somebody's yelling at you. Just, try to be calm about it. Be like, hey, sorry you feel this way. What can I do for you? You know what I mean? Because you know what that person needs. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe you being nice to them for like 2 seconds will make them stop being a dick for 10 minutes, You never know. Or if you see a kid and they're having a rough time, they're getting picked on, somebody doesn't like their hair, be like, hey kid, your hair is cool if you like it. Because it's true, that's all that matters. Just try to leave a little bit of something positive, a little bit of something, that helps a person get through a day with them, because life is short. It's really brief. You never know how long you're here. You could be here for 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 years. You have no idea. And if you spend all your time, being a miserable jerk, not caring about the people around you, not trying to do anything for the people around you, what was the point? You can't take any of it when you die. You can't, take your money, can't take your kids, can't take your car, can't take any of that when you die. All you can do is leave something here. So leave something worth picking up. That's how I feel.
All right, that's perfect. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.